All right. Let's just get started now, and we'll see if more people end up joining us. But good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the Lead Poisoning Prevention 101 webinar. We are recording today's presentation, and we will be posting it to GLCAC's social media within the next couple of days. So for this webinar, you may notice that attendees don't have access to their webcams or microphones, but we do have the chat and Q&A functions enabled. If you do have any questions throughout, you can feel free to just throw them in there, and we'll address all the questions at the end. Today's presenters are Oneris Rondon and Luz Torres, and they are both community health workers for GLCAC's Lead Poisoning Prevention Program. Oneris has been working as a community health worker in the lead program since 2021 and has recently received her community health worker certificate. Throughout her time at GLCAC, Oneris has served over 100 families in northeastern Massachusetts. And Luz is a newer addition to GLCAC's lead program, having started in March this year. During her short time here, she has served nearly 50 families in northeastern Massachusetts. And I just want to thank you all again for joining us today. If you or someone you know are interested in receiving this information in Spanish, we will be having a Spanish presentation tomorrow as well. It will also be at 2 o'clock. So feel free to share that with anybody you think would appreciate attending. And now I will turn it over to Oneris and Luz to begin the presentation.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Luz Torres. I'm the CH worker that Sam was talking about. So the agenda is that we're going to talk about lead exposures, how to contain the hazards, the leading, the Massachusetts law, and some financial assistance. The lead and lead poisoning. The history of lead in the United States indicates that lead is toxic. It's a toxic heavy metal that was used in making products such as paint and durable, colorful, and sometimes heavy. It was used in gasoline and it was banned in 1996. And in Massachusetts, the primary exposure sources for lead poisoning are paint chips, lead dust, most often found in homes built before 1978. The lead poisoning exposures, product containing lead that can result in lead poisoning. For children and adults, there are usually no signs or symptoms of lead poisoning. Some effects of lead poisonings are likely to be irreversible. The vulnerable population that we have are children under 6, sick children with autism, pica, people living in homes that are being renovated, and also the workers who do the renovations for those homes. The health effects of lead poisoning in children are their brains, kidneys, nervous systems. It could slow their growth, development, their speech, hearing, and also their intelligence and behavior. In adults, it could affect their high blood pressure and their memory, concentration, and other problems. In pregnant women, the lead can be passed down to the unborn children, to the unborn child, and it could be the risk of miscarriage or premature birth, could cause the unborn child to be small and have learning disability behaviors on the unborn child. How do we, how do children become lead poison? Well, lead poisoning is caused when the lead gets into the person's body by ingesting or inhalation. And children, because they put everything in their mouth and breathe in. So it primary sources of in Massachusetts, the primary source is paint chips and dust. As lead paint ages, it chips and becomes dusty. Lead paint also becomes dust when windows and doors frictions. They when you open and close them and you scrape the paint. There are dangerous lead dust and paint chips. Oh, you're also gonna find lead in other sources that you find in common houses, as you can see here in this picture. For examples, in jewelry, in gold jewelry, and that's what we recommend in children, not using any jewelry, even gold jewelry, because it might contain lead, and in custom jewelry also. In other alternative sources, as pots and cooking utensils that you could see here from other countries that are being used to cook food, that could transmit the lead in the food, and then the kids ingest that lead. Also here, you could see other alternative sources, some other cooking ware, and hard in cooking utensils too. Mm. Examples of other alternative secondary sources in Massachusetts are these here too, like makeup. There's also um, religious powders, candies, and other things that that comes from other countries. Spices are one example that comes from other countries that are not regulated, like here in the United States. So that's one thing that we recommend not using when making food for kids here in the United States, obviously. Lead exposures around the world. Um, in industrial emissions, gasoline, occupational exposures, mines. This is other areas where the kids can be exposed to lead.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
so no, no,
I couldn't hear what you say. I was muted. So did you say something?
no. I'm just gonna mention that just keep in mind that other any part of the world, lead paint is no ban. The only uh, country that lead paint is banned is in the United States. That's why we recommend families to use products and anything from the US, no other places coming, no other things coming from the other countries. So now we are gonna talk about the overview of the program and what we do. So for the program, as a community health worker, we do outreach to the community to let people know what is lead and what are their rights, and they can understand what is lead. And we also work with families that had children with lead poison. We do home visit to those families and provide support to the family to identify the child's source of exposure. We also do temporary hazard reduction and referrals. They also get a clinical care coordinator, which going to monitor the child's blood lead levels and remind the family about screening deadlines. They also get an inspector, a lead inspector from the state to uh, to to inspect the house for any lead hazard and enforce the lead law, and educate the property owner about the leading and financial assistance, as well as issue a compliance documentation. Just keep in mind that the lead inspector is only the inspector from the state is only for children that are already poisoned. So if you want to do an inspection in your house, you have to hire a private inspector. So blood lead testing. In the state of Massachusetts, the lead law requires children to be tested between 9 and 12 months, 2 years old, 3 years old, and 4 years old if they live in high-risk community. In this state, we have 17 um, communities that are high risk, and one of them being Chelsea, Everett, Lawrence, Lowell, Lynn, and Malden. The way that the state check the screening compliance is by requesting daycare and preschool providers to check for a student screening during enrollment and re-enrollment. There's two ways for children to get lead tested, the capillary and the venous. The capillary is in the fingers, and the venous is from the vein in the arm, and it's more accurate to identify the lead levels. The only way to know if a child is exposed is to get a lead test. There's no other way for us to know if the child has lead in their body. So how the lead levels work. So if you get the capillary test and the child's level is under 5, then the next time that they have to get tested is in 1 year. But if their lead level is 5 or more, they have to get tested again with a venous and in 2 months, and if higher than 20, then in a month or sooner. If they get a venous test result, fire less than 5, then they have to get tested in 1 year. If the level is between 5 and 14, then in 3 months, and the higher the level, the sooner they have to get tested, as you see. Okay, so what does the level mean? So if the levels, we are looking at the venous level, is between 1 and 3.5, that shows exposure, and that's there's no safe blood level, but we know that sometimes children will get exposed from anything around their house or other places. So if your kid is a 2 or a 3, there's gonna be exposure. So you just have to make sure that the next time to check the next time that they get retested, what is their level. Again, if the level is 3.5 and between 3.5 and 4.9, that's a level of concern in the CDC. Just follow the recommended retesting guideline and make sure to check with the doctor. But if it's between 5 and 9.9, that's a level of concern in Massachusetts, and we give optional CHW services to our program, and the family has to follow again the retesting guideline. But if a child get a 10 or more, that's considered lead poison. The child is already poisoned, and there's a legal action that the Massachusetts will take. They will give again the CSW services to the family, and they will do a mandatory inspection. And if they find any lead hazard, the owner of the house will be given an order to correct it, to fix all the hazards. Temporary hazard reduction. So we want to get to that point where a child is lead poison. So some ways to prevent that is making sure that you clean your house at least once a week, and do not use broom to clean because sometimes this can spread the lead dust into the air. Always make sure to wash your child's hand often, always before eating and sleeping. Wash the toys that they use the most, and take their shoes and your shoes before coming inside the house. And make sure that they are not getting access to the lead paint or any items with lead in the house. And one way that can lower the child's lead level is by um, getting con- eating healthy food that contain iron, calcium, and vitamin C. They will this will level the this will lower the level of the child, and there is no specific medication for lead, so that's why it it's always recommend to give iron and calcium and vitamin C. So is it for pregnant woman is the same thing, making sure that you are away from any lead sources and making sure that you talk to your doctor uh, when you are taking any supplemental or home remedies uh, during pregnancy. And again, eat any food that is high in iron, calcium, and vitamin C. Preventing the bleeding. So, in ways to prevent that the child get poisoned, you want to make sure that your house is doesn't have any lead hazard. So that's when the bleeding comes. So in the state of Massachusetts, there is not a lead-free standard for homes. That means if the house had lead, it will always have lead, but we want to make sure that the lead in the house is not affecting the family. Meaning, if the wall in front of you is has lead and it's chipping, there's a hole, there's a lot of chipping paint, then that's what we want to make sure to cover. But if the wall next to you is intact but it has lead, as long as it's intact, we don't have to do anything about it. So the leading is just making sure that all the lead hazards are covered or removed. All the deleting work has to be done by someone that is authorized by the Department of Public Health. And before you do any work, you have to get a home inspection by a licensed inspector. From it can be a private inspector, but he has to be licensed by the state. Deleting. So there is different type of deleting. There are removing paint, sanding, or scrapping. There are tearing down walls, but that's when it's really a big issue, the wall, but sometimes it's mostly just covering the wall, making sure that the wall are intact. Then removing windows and woodwork, fixing plumbing and electrical system, and repairing heating and ventilation ducts. So every house is different, and sometimes you're gonna have a house that is only a few areas that you need to fix, and sometimes it's a big work. So what is unauthorized deleting? If you choose to do the work and you say, "Oh, my house, I know it was before 1978. I'm gonna do all the work because I know how to do it," but you haven't inspected your house and you don't have an authorization, then you are doing an unauthorized deleting. You need to do an inspection first, and you need to be authorized by the state to do any lead work in your house. So lead poisoning is preventable. Just what we want is make sure that the child doesn't get to a point where it's 10 or more. So that's why you want to do the inspection to know where is the lead, so you can avoid those areas, or your child can avoid those areas, and making sure that you fix those lead hazard, so you don't get to the point where the state will will send an inspector to your house, and you're gonna get an order to correct if you are the owner of the house. So if you want to do the work at your house, there's two ways to do it. Some you cannot do all the work, but sometimes you can do some part of the work, so you don't spend that much money. So you have the low risk authorization, where you get a low risk deleting guide. You read the guide, then take a home quiz from the same guide and send it to the program. And if you pass the quiz, you get an authorization number that doesn't expire. And with that, you can do some work in your house, not all of them. They will let you know what type of work you can do when you read the guide. Then we have moderate risk authorization. You will take a 1 day long moderate risk training course, then take a test. And if you pass the test, then you get an authorization number that that never expire, and you can do more work in your house. If some work in your house you cannot do it, then you have to hire a lead contractor to do the remaining work. The Massachusetts lead law. So a property owner must cover or remove lead paint violations when there is a home built before 1978 and a child less than 5 years old live in the home. The ways that you comply with the law is by getting a letter of full deleting compliance or letter of interim control. The letter of full deleting compliance is a letter that you get after you inspect the house, you fix all the lead hazard, and then you get another inspector or the same inspector to check if everything was done properly. Then that inspector, if they see that everything was done, he will give you the letter of compliance, meaning that you are following the law of Massachusetts. If you don't have enough money to do all the work at once, or you don't have the time to do all the work at once, you can get a letter of interim control, which means that you're gonna get 2 years to complete all the work, and each year you're gonna get that letter saying that you are doing part of the work. It's just that it's gonna take some more time. That will protect you in the future if any child get poisoned. You can show that letter, but it's not that you're not gonna get a it's not doesn't mean that you are not responsible of the child getting poisoned. It just means that you were doing everything in your power for that child not to get poisoned. So as I said before, the leading can only be done by someone who is trained and authorized to do the work. And before you do any work, the house has to be inspected. And even if you get a letter of compliance, if you do all the work and you receive the letter, houses still have lead. So if your house is not maintained, it can fall out of compliance, and then you will have to get another inspection and fix all the lead hazards that are now in the house. So just making sure that you maintain your house as best as you can, so no more hazards are found in your house in the future. So tenant rights. If you are gonna rent a house, your landlord have to provide you with a tenant lead notification, a tenant certification form, and any copy of the most recent lead inspection and letter of compliance or letter of interim control. That's for houses that are pre-1978, even if you don't have any children. They need to provide you with that certification, or you as an owner that is renting a house have to provide that information. The tenant lead law notification will provide the tenants information about the lead law, their rights, and what to look for lead in their house. And the tenant certification form is a form where you gonna say what information you have about lead for that apartment. If you have a report, you're gonna say, I have a report for that apartment that was dated for this year. If you don't have any report or any information about lead for that apartment, you just have to say, I don't have anything. But both of you, the tenant and the landlord, have to sign that paper, and each one of you will get a copy of that documentation. So if the landlord um, don't want to give any of those don't give any of those documentations, they can get fined because they are not providing those information. You can also ask for an inspection if they haven't done any inspection before. And if they refuse and you have a child under 6 years old, you can call the Board of Health or program to request a parental request, which is gonna give you a lead determination, a free lead determination, which is someone from the Board of Health will go to your house, and if they find any lead hazard, any shipping paint, any areas where it's a hole in the wall or something like that that can affect your child, they will send an order to correct to the owner so they can have an inspection and do all the work in the house. So anyways, as an as a landlord, you have to provide lead information to your renters. And as a tenant, you have the right to ask for that information. Okay, so discrimination and retaliation. So it's illegal uh, for a landlord to refuse to rent to a family because there is a lead in the house and they have children under 6. It's illegal for them to punish a tenant by raising the rent or threatening eviction if they ask for a lead inspection. And it's illegal for them to request any child's blood screening from the family and sign away a child's right to a safe home. This means if you are signing a lease and in the lease will say, oh, I'm not responsible if your child get lead poison. You cannot ask me for any lead inspection, and you have to sign here for me to provide you with the so you can live in that apartment. So that's illegal. You cannot do that, or your landlord cannot do that. So just making sure that even if you sign that paper in court, that wouldn't matter. It doesn't apply. Deleting financial assistance. Okay, if you get a letter for deleting compliance, in your next taxes, you can get $3,000 for doing all that work. And if you have a letter of interim control, you're gonna get $1,000 each year that you have that letter, and it's up to 2 years. So there's other financial assistance in the state of Massachusetts. For example, we have the Get the Letter Out, which provide family that money to delete the house if they qualify. You don't have to repay the money unless you sell the house or refinance your house. And sometimes you don't have any, you only have zero payment loans or only 3% fully amortizing loan. And it's depending on your income and other qualifications. So you can check the website with the link. Other loan programs. So there's other type of loans that you can get as well to delete your home. And there are also some grants that you can use to to do the work. For example, there's some towns or city that will have money to do any development and planning rehab. Rehab that normally what they do is that they use that money to work in any to fix some problems in your house. You can request that money from your city, and you can use that money to pay for let the leading work. But that's depending on if they have the money. There's other town that has money specifically for the leading. For example, Lynn has a lead abatement program that will give families or owners of the house money to inspect the house, do all the work, and even relocation during the deleting work. And that's if you qualify for the grant, and you don't have to pay that money unless again you sell the house or refinance your house. Lauren has the same program with different qualifications, and they give you up to $14,000 per unit, meaning if you have a house of multifamily house and you want to delete both houses, you're gonna get for each apartment you're gonna get 14,000 up to $14,000. You can contact them and check what are all the qualifications for that program as well. And then we have modern lead abatement program, which work the same way. The only difference is how much money they're gonna get for house, for apartment or house. That is $19,000. So you can get in contact with any of them if you live in any of the cities and get money specifically to do all the work in the house. If you don't live in any of these three cities, you can get the letter out that work in the whole state of Massachusetts. And pretty much that's everything that we have. But if you have any question, we can go ahead and answer them.
Great job, Oneris and Luz. We do have one question in the chat right now. So Andrea asked, could you please clarify when or if there is an expiration date on lead certificates?
So there's no expiration date for a certificate. The only thing is if you have a certificate from the 1980, all the lead law has changed since then. So which means that if all the law for that time is not the same as right now, so even the house cannot be under compliance at this time. Also, if you are renting for Section A, sometimes Section A will ask you to get a letter of compliance that is 5 year that is no more than 5 years old. So even if they don't expire, sometimes you will need a new letter of compliance or a new report to make sure that your house is still under compliance.
Great, thank you. And as Oneris mentioned before as well, just because you've done de-leading and have a letter of compliance doesn't mean that there is no lead left in the home. So if the property isn't well maintained, then certainly new lead hazards can come up and a child can still become poisoned, even if there's a letter of compliance for the property. Okay, Jennifer has a question as well. Do you know if there are any testers or products that can test if an object has lead? Not a home, but things like toys, foreign products, etc.
So there's a testing kits that normally you buy in Home Depot, but I'm not sure if you can use it for a product in specifically. We mostly use it. We only concentrate mostly on the paint. what we recommend mostly to families is that to avoid anything that is coming from other countries. For example, if you are gonna buy spices, even if it's like paprika or curry, just buy it like supermarket that say made in the U.S. That means that the U.S. you are that store is following the U.S. guideline regarding lead. If you are traveling from another country and you are bringing all the stuff from other country, then we cannot know you cannot know what are you bringing to the U.S. because they don't have the same regulations.
Yep.
And if you have concerns on lead being in any of your products that you did buy in the US, then you can always visit the Consumer Product Safety Commission. They post a bunch of recalls, I think weekly, and it's not often that something is recalled for lead, but sometimes they come up. So that's always something to check if you're concerned. Any other questions before we end the presentation today? Okay, thank you, Jennifer. So we will end the presentation here. Thank you again, everybody, for coming. And
Thank you.
are we sharing the slides? I can try to share the slides. It's kind of a long presentation. Let me actually see if I can post them right here in the chat. So it looks like I'm gonna have to send out the slides, but what I will post in the chat is the flyer for tomorrow's training if anybody is interested or know anybody who's interested. And then, like I said, I'll try to send out these slides to all of you as well. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you.